What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Can you believe 2025's almost over? Man, it's been a heck of a year. We've talked about some great games on the channel, and I've played some great games outside of the channel. So, with Thanksgiving coming up this Thursday, I thought I would do my top 10 games of 2025. But that doesn't mean games that were just released in 2025. Some of these games I discovered in 2025 or even rediscovered in 2025. These are Books, Bricks, and Boards' top 10 RPGs of 2025. Thank you. Without you, this thing doesn't happen. I mean, I still play all these games, but I save 8 to 12 hours a week filming and editing, and I just talk to myself about them.
Are you delusional?
So again, thank you for watching. But now I'm going to ask you for another favor.
I got a bad feeling about this.
If you enjoy the content, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, as that is the only way to sneak our way into that tricksy YouTube algorithm.
Wicked, tricksy, false.
While the number is improving, we still have room to do better, as over the last 28 days, 69.2% of my views were from non-subscribers.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
If you are already a subscriber and you want to do more to support the channel, we've got a number of ways for you to do that. First, go check out the Discord server, where you can discuss and play games with amazing folks from all over the world.
Putting together a team, people with special abilities.
If you like games, and if you don't, why are you here? We've got an affiliate link to Noble Knight Games, where you can find both new and long out of print games at great prices. And when you use the affiliate link in the description of this video, you generate store credit for the channel, which buys more stuff for me to talk about on said channel. Win, win, win.
Yeah, baby.
Lastly, if you want early video access, shoutouts, and other small perks, consider a channel membership. At as low as $3 a month, it is a great way to show you enjoy this channel.
We're not worthy.
With all that out of the way, on with the show. Methodology. Don't be dissuaded if you are an old school gamer, because this list is not limited to what was released in 2025.
But now you have my attention.
And it's not even limited to what I discovered in 2025. This list, which is in no particular order until that fabled number 1 spot,
that's just my game,
is made up of games that I enjoyed the most in 2025. Some I discovered, some I rediscovered, some I ran games of, others I played games in. Some were solo, others were group games. A week or so ago, a viewer asked me, what is your favorite RPG?
Well, just a second there, Professor.
That is a pretty tough question, because it might change based upon my mood, the group, or what's going on at that point in my life. It's like asking me what my favorite song is. Do you have all day? So this list is capturing what those favorite games were over the past year.
That's a really good idea.
Some of your favorites may even be on here as well. Others might not.
I'm going to have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
If you want to share your own list in the comments, I think that would be awesome. So, with that understanding, on with the list. Number 10, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition by TSR. I was not kidding when I said in no particular order, because everybody knows Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition is one of my favorite games of all time. As a matter of fact, in recent years, I've started running this for my kids again. I've also soloed it recently, and I've been having every bit as much fun as I did all those years ago when this first released. So what do I like about it? Well, number one, it is that familiar D20 system with all the wonky add-ons. The Thieves roll D100s. Everything works a little bit different. It doesn't feel like a smooth machine. No, it feels like a hot rod that's been bolted onto several times, and it may just fall apart on you while you're going down the road, but man, it's going to look good doing it. This game had Dungeons & Dragons best settings come out for it. It was an absolute toolbox. And with all of the different supplements that you could find for it, see my shelves, you could make this thing into anything you wanted. It was a real toolbox of a game. And it was the first edition that was produced post-Gygax. After Gygax had left the company, I think a lot of folks thought, well, you know, what's going to happen with our game? And I am happy to say that the second edition run of the game is my favorite run of Dungeons and Dragons. That's not to say I don't appreciate everything that Gary did, but those creatives trying to prove themselves during the second edition run created some of the most iconic and memorable aspects of Dungeons and Dragons to this very day. This is likely the most well-supported version of Dungeons and Dragons, at least by SKU count it is. And for those of you that don't have old copies laying around, you can pick up some POD copies from DriveThruRPG at very reasonable costs and still be able to play this to this very day. And that's why Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd Edition is my number 10 on my list. Number 9, Swords and Wizardry by Mythmere Games. Swords and Wizardry is an incredible accomplishment, as it takes a very old school version of the game, the oldest school being OD&D, and it stays true to that game while also improving it. That is because Matt Finch focused not on revolutionizing the game, but rather improving the layout, the examples, and the playability of the game. Anytime that Matt made fundamental changes, which were few, to the way that the core game played, he would explain why he did so and alternatives that would be closer to the original play. Matt showed a true reverence for the source material in his works, and I think that is why they are so beloved by gamers today. And to be honest, it is through Matt's work with his white box edition of Swords and Wizardry that I rediscovered OD&D, which I had thought was long outdated, but I was wrong. Matt made me understand and appreciate that game in an entirely new way because of how he presented the same rules in his own game. As a matter of fact, most of everything that I enjoy about Dungeons & Dragons was already established in OD&D, and it is well represented in Swords and Wizardry. What's more, Swords and Wizardry, besides playing like the original edition, also has some great options for getting into the game. You could get the box set of their complete version, which harkens back to the old original white box with its tiny booklets rather than one huge rule book. You could get the complete revised hardcover, which has effectively the same material as those booklets, but laid out a little bit differently and in this gorgeous hardcover tome. They also have the white box edition, which stays true to the original white box rules. So what do I like about Swords and Wizardry as a game in 2025? Well, besides being readily available, I can grab any of my old material off the shelf and throw it right on the table, no conversion necessary, play it as is, and I can have a great time just like I did back in the 80s. And that's why Swords and Wizardry is my number 9 game of 2025. Number 8, Castles and Crusades by Trollord Games. I have a long history with Castles and Crusades, having first purchased this back in 2008, creating an entire world for it and multiple character creation Excel spreadsheets. Castles and Crusades plays effectively the same as it did 20 years ago when it was first released, but with this newest Reforged edition, it is at its peak as far as playability because of the excellent layout, the great art, and the superior design work. Jettisoning the old OGL tethers, the new Reforged edition of Castles and Crusades brings the game into the 2025 realm in a spectacular fashion. Now, as I said, if you are a longtime fan of Castles and Crusades, it's going to play the same way it did when this was the cover of the book, but it's going to look great too. When I first picked up my original copies of this game, I thought, man, this is a great game. It's too bad it is so low budget. Well, this is low budget no more. You would put these wonderfully built tomes against any on your shelf, or at least I would. And if you want a game that plays like AD&D, but with the conveniences of a modern RPG, then this is going to be your game. This has everything you need in only 2 books, the Player's Handbook and the Monsters and Treasure, but the Castle Keeper's Guide is a fantastic tome of knowledge for any aspiring game master to tap into and learn better ways to surprise and amaze their players. Castles and Crusades also has the benefit of being just close enough to those TSR rules that you can easily transfer material between this system and that and use some of your older materials right there at the table. Beyond that, Castles and Crusades is made by a company that is crewed by some of the most spectacular folks in the business. The Chenaults and all of the rest of the Trolls at Troll Lord game are very spectacular people, and they take care of their fans, and that is why Castles and Crusades is my number 8 game of 2025. Number 7, Nimble by Evan Diaz. Rarely will I be truly surprised by my feelings about a game. Typically, I know my tastes very well, and I know what I'm going to like or dislike going in. So it was a very wonderful surprise whenever I kept being hounded by a certain viewer about, I need to try Nimble. And so finally I relented and I said, yes, I will check and see if the folks over at Nimble will send a review copy, and if they will, I'll give it a look. But I hate 5th edition D&D. So I was not really expecting to find what I found, because while it does say 5e compatible on the box, this is not a 5th edition clone. They have streamlined 5th edition to the point where it is nearly unrecognizable, yet can still take advantage of the plethora of 5th edition releases and use them easily in your Nimble games. So what makes Nimble great? Well, it's incredibly fast. You have no to hit rolls, and armor is just a means of damage mitigation, making the entire combat process flow a lot more smoothly at the table. On top of that, whenever you are picking what kind of a character you're going to make, while Nimble has a list of character types that would be reminiscent of the classes you know from a game like 5th edition or 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons, the takes in Nimble are very, very different. There are going to be some very cool options for every type of character that you would want to create. As a dungeon master, or game master in this case, I actually love the Nimble stat blocks. I've got hit points, damage, maybe a couple special abilities. That's it. I can fit 10 creatures on a single note card, and that makes this a game that I can play at the table without having to worry about a lot of prep work ahead of time, and I can grab any of those great products that have been released for a game that I don't enjoy that much, but I can use them with this game that I enjoy a whole lot. Aside from that, my 7-year-old really likes the speed and the action of the Nimble system as compared to some of the other games that we played together. He really digs this, and so that's why Nimble is my number 7 game of 2025. Number 6, Legend in the Mist. Legend in the Mist is a recent release by Son of Oak Studios, and the thing that immediately jumped out about this to me is I really liked the concept of City of Mist, also released by Son of Oak, but I could never quite grasp how it should work at the table. I never felt like I had a good enough understanding of the system to really make it hum the way that it should. Legend in the Mist, the biggest improvement over it from City of Mist is in the presentation and the explanation. By the time I got done reading through these books for the very first time, I felt like I really understood what these designers were going for in every mechanical case. This is a printed copy of the PDFs I received, and this is all of the core books that you can get. But if you're interested in giving this a try, they have a free comic book style solo version of the game to get you started, and it's called Find the Rhyme Thistle. But Legend in the Mist is a fantastic game for teaching RPGs to a non-RPG type of individual, and it is a wonderfully simple take on the Powered by the Apocalypse system. With Legend in the Mist, you can make your characters really sing with just some words describing their traits. You add their traits to your roll, you roll 2d6, and you use that standard Powered by the Apocalypse style result system. Sometimes you're going to have a complete success, sometimes it's going to be a success with a setback, sometimes you're going to have a failure with a perk, and sometimes you're just going to have a flat out failure. But the thing with that system is every result is going to drive the story forward, and it makes Legend of the Mist a great collaborative storytelling game. Now, as an old gamer, those words would never have came out of my mouth just a few years ago. But as I have gotten to play in some of these games and run some of these games and even, yes, solo some of these games, I have found this to be a refreshing take. And though mechanically it is incredibly different from the games that we played as kids in the 1980s, effectively at the table, it reminds me very much of the storytelling epics that we had at the table playing those earliest editions of the games where the mechanics were light, but the fun was very heavy. And that is why Legend in the Mist is my number 6 game of 2025. And now, a word about our sponsor. Here we are halfway through the video, and I know some of you are already thinking, why do I keep on watching this channel? It only makes me spend more money.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Well, take heart. Noble Knight Games has an incredible selection of over 100,000 great games, including the ones you see on this video. And what's more, their savings are turned up all the way to 11 right now.
The numbers all go to 11.
Because we are in their Christmas season.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
If you've been holding off on making that purchase for yourself or for that special someone, wait no further. There is no better time than right now to get that Grail game or the newest shiny for your very own shelf. If you are strapped for cash, what better time to take advantage of the Noble Knight trade-in system, turning unused games into cash. If you know what you want, take store credit and get even more buying power. Noble Knight Games doesn't just do games either. The bat flag here came from the folks at Noble Knight as well.
I'm Batman.
Noble Knight Games is like a box of chocolates.
You never know what you're going to get.
And always remember, use my affiliate link in the description of this video and you're not just getting a great game, you're also helping the channel.
You have chosen wisely.
Number 5, The Black Sword Hack by The Merry Mushman. The Black Sword Hack was another one of those games that surprised me. I thought, why do I need that when I already have the Black Hack, which it's based on, and I have the White Hack that was based on? Do I need another hack of the hack? Well, the answer was yes, actually. I had several of my viewers tell me that this was one that I needed to check out. So I finally relented and threw my money down on the barrel and said, send me a copy of that wonderful hack that you do. And when I received it, I was pleasantly surprised that they didn't just rehash all of the aspects of the Black Hack and the White Hack. The Black Sword Hack takes a decidedly more swords and sorcery view of the light RPG type of game. Even from the artwork, you can tell this was very much inspired by Elric, Conan, and the like. There's a little Solomon Kane reference there. And you are going to be having your player-facing roles. You're going to have very simple stat blocks, and you are going to have some tropes of the genre to represent your character. Magic is dangerous, and the game plays very, very quickly. Towards the end of a long campaign, if you could survive that far, then you might find yourself in a position that you are a true force to be reckoned with. But leading up to that point, you're probably going to die 10 times over because this is a grim and gritty take on the genre. I have thought about using this for playing through A Song of Ice and Fire, Conan, and several others. The Black Sword hack is a bit expensive for its form factor and page count, but that being said, it is a one-of-a-kind experience, very much an evolution of the other hacks that it borrowed from. The Black Sword hack is a game that you can pick up and show to a group and teach them in less than 10 minutes, and you can really throw them into a dungeon or overland hex crawl adventure with almost no prep, which is a big bonus in my world. So that is why the Black Sword hack is my number 5 game of 2025. Number 4, The One Ring by Free League Publishing. The One Ring is their take on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, and it is true that they take their roles as caretakers of this world very seriously. You won't find massive departures from the source materials here. No, you will find them working in every way possible to incorporate the very language of the books into the mechanics of the game. And it is incredibly successful in doing so. I've ran co-op and regular games of this system over the last year. I've also ran Strider mode solo games of this system over the last year, and it never ceases to amaze me. It does a wonderful job of taking the players and placing them right in the middle of Middle-earth. And the expansions have been all bangers. You will not find a weak release on the One Ring schedule, right up to this newest version of the starter set, which is great. It comes with the dice, it comes with some standees, comes with some maps, comes with some adventures, so on and so forth. Everything you need to give this game a try and see if you're going to like it. The One Ring is very different than most of the games that I have presented so far in that it is not a D20 based game. It is a dice pool using a number of 6-sided dice called success dice and a feat die, which is a D12, but not your regular D12. It's a D12, but the 11 and 12 would be the symbols of Gandalf and Sauron, respectively, each giving their own unique effect in the game. Now, if you bounce off of specialty dice, I understand they're expensive, and if you have 50 pounds of dice, why do you need some more special ones that you can only use with this game? You could easily use a regular D12 for this game as well. You just count the 1 through 10 the same as you normally would. 11 would be the symbol of Gandalf, and 12 would be the symbol of Sauron. There you go. There is your money-saving hack. Another thing that I like about this game is that the mechanics are actually relatively rules-light. I have in this binder everything that I use out of all of the books that I own for the One Ring. So my entire One Ring collection that I need at the table is in this one little binder as I printed from my PDF copies. The One Ring is going to be a great way to get fans of Lord of the Rings into the tabletop RPG sphere. And that is why The One Ring is my number 4 game of 2025. Number 3, Star Wars, the role-playing game by West End Games. This is another one of those oldies but goodies, originally released in 1987 and having lost the license in 1999. Star Wars by West End Games is an incredible design feat in RPGs. This game still plays great to this very day. I know because I'm running a session of it on my Discord server, Play by Post, right now. Star Wars does a great job of embracing the source material of the original trilogy and the extended universe via the Timothy Zahn novels, as well as the other novels that were coming out in the same era, but ignoring, because they weren't out yet, the prequels and the Disney sequels. Star Wars, the role-playing game by West End Games, plays very fast. It uses a D6 pool system, so if you've got a handful of 6-sided dice, a little bit of imagination, and maybe some of those Star Wars Legos lying around, you can have a fantastic time with this game. It represents all of the aspects that you want from a Star Wars system. It has rules for starfighter combat, including the ability to shift your shields to the forward-facing arc or the rear arc if you're trying to get away. All of the detail you're going to want, but in a way that is deceptively simple and allows for effective play at the table. You're not going to get bogged down in all of the arcane aspects of the rules. No, it's always going to boil down to rolling a pool of 6-sided dice against a target number and seeing what happens. It has the added benefit of using a wild die, one of the first, if not the first, systems to use that, not including Ghostbusters, which was the same system for a different IP. And that makes the game swingy and fun, and it represents the same kind of stories that you would see in Lucas's original trilogy movies. The Force is wonderfully represented here, focusing on the aspects of sense, alter, and control, and having access to all of the powers that you saw in the movies, the comic books, and the novels of the day. What's more, there are source books for every character that you can imagine or that you have seen in any of your favorite fiction of what is now considered Legends canon from the Star Wars universe. And that is why Star Wars by West End Games is my number 3 game of 2025. Number 2, Savage Worlds by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Savage Worlds, if you've been watching this channel, is one of my favorites of all time. The thing I love about Savage Worlds is that while I have looked in every direction for a universal RPG that can truly do it all, Savage Worlds is the first one that, in my opinion, has been successful in that endeavor to my liking. Savage Worlds has a great system whereby you roll a particular die type based upon your skill in a ability, and then you get to roll a single 6-sided die, your wild die, with that roll, and you're usually trying to hit a target number of 4. It's that simple at its core. The thing that makes Savage Worlds so incredible are all of the small ways that you can tweak it that make it feel like a very different game. I have played westerns, I played sci-fi, I played fantasy, I played supers. Savage Worlds can truly do it all. And with their companion series, they can give you all of the tools that you don't have to break your neck trying to come up with the specific set of setting rules and powers and edges that you want to make the system do exactly what you saw on the pages of your favorite IP. So with Savage Worlds, you're going to get a game that is fun, it's going to be cinematic, it's going to be great for those fast adventure style games, but also it will work equally well for detective games and for Cthulhu-esque horror games, and for modern games as well. For me, that's where the Universal systems typically fall apart, is that if I can do fantasy with them, I can't do modern. If I can do supers, I can't do fantasy. Savage Worlds has great ways to handle all of these different genres, and the most incredible part is if you've got a little bit of time, you can do all of it with just this one book. That's right, all of the tools you need to run any kind of game are really in this book. So why do I own all the companions? Because these make my life a lot easier, because they have already done all of the legwork for any of the different IPs I can imagine in each of their respective genres. What's more, Savage Worlds has over 20 years of releases, so if there's some type of game that you want to play, chances are there's been a release for that. And that is why Savage Worlds is my number 2 game of 2025. Honorable mention. I had no intentions of putting an honorable mention on this list. However, after going through Land of Eam, I'm pretty confident that if I'd had this earlier in the year, it would have made this list. This box set is probably the nicest box set of any RPG that I've ever owned. The art is amazing, and the concept is, well, let's just say, unique. It's so good that I changed my video schedule so I can talk about this a week earlier, that being the video coming up next week. So it's not officially on the list, but Land of Eam gets a strong honorable mention in my top 10 games of 2025. Number 1, Tales of Argosa by Pickpocket Press. Tales of Argosa. Oh my, what I can't say about this game. Well, what I can say is that it's incredible. I am very lucky to have once again had a viewer hounding me that I needed to give this game a try. The name was weird, and I thought, nah, it just seems like I'm going to have to learn this whole new setting, and I'm an old man and I'm not into that. But I finally relented and said, yeah, if they'll send me a review copy, I will give it a look. We'll see if I like it or not. And once again, I was surprised because this game is amazing. It's got its own built-in solo oracle. It has available some solo oracle contextual cards and some solo dice that you can also pick up for free via a dice rolling app, which you can find in my video on the game. But the biggest thing is, Tales of Argosa captures the sword and sorcery feel of those Conan stories better than any other game I have ever played. And the incredible thing about that is, I have been trying to find a game that would capture those stories perfectly for me for a long time. And the first time I put dice on the table playing this as a solo, I knew I had found that game. Tales of Argosa uses a D20 system that is very similar to a 3.5 style game, but without all of the messy bloat, and adding its own unique takes on the system. The Nat 19s giving brutal effects, as well as the normal 20s giving the critical effects, makes for a very gritty and deadly game for both the player and the GM. The other thing about Tales of Argosa is that each of the classes are wonderfully thought out to represent those types of tropes within the sword and sorcery genre, not trying to emulate the watered down versions that have become the standard in the mainstream D&D world. So along with that, you have some incredibly diverse set of tables to make content on the fly, and you have the ability to customize your characters with their unique features. So with Tales of Argosa, you are going to have an opportunity to create those serial style adventures that you've been reading about for your entire life, and you're going to do it while not making your brain break because it is so difficult to keep everything straight. Tales of Argosa is an incredible feat in gaming. It's not often that you can make a D20 system feel different than the crowd, but Steve Grodzicki has done this. He pretty much took the best aspects of every edition of Dungeons & Dragons and placed them into a single voluminous tome. So that is why Tales of Argosa is my #1 game of 2025. Look at those absolute legends. Keith Simone, Dengar the Mighty, Joke, Blue Rose Lion, Agile Monk, Bjorn, I Am Not Tim, and Mike the Hammer. Special thanks to Pralinor, Acene Dean, Steve Grodzicki, Spinning Toehold, Neuromancer, and Simon Templar. And there they are. Those are my top 10 games of 2025. Did some of your favorites make the list? Tell me about which game in this list was your favorite. Did some of your favorites not make the list? Well, you know, I like a lot of games. It's hard to narrow them down to just 10. Tell me about the ones that you think should have been on my list. Maybe they'll be on there next year. So until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, God bless, and happy Thanksgiving.